Welcome back, Halo followers. This is your host, Ron, and today we're going to be talking about Halo Infinite, of course, and RPG elements being in that game. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that on the second half of this video, but for the major first portion of this video, we're going to be talking about a Bonnie Ross interview and why Halo Infinite is taking so long, and actually why Halo 4 and 5 turned out the way that they did, you know, not living up to most of fans' expectations. So let's go ahead and get into that. So in the interview, it was asked, obviously you can't talk much about Halo Infinite, but going into the future, what do you see 343 pursuing in addition to a healthier workflow? Well, Bonnie Ross responded with, as far as games you mean? So we are heavily invested in what we see at our legacy because I think so many people still love to play the old Halo. So we've been doing a ton of work on the Master Chief Collection and that kind of changing the way that we engage with fans and players and really kind of bringing them into the dialogue on like what they want. I think that today fans expect a different type of engagement. They want to be a part of it. So we're definitely trying to pave the way there with the Master Chief Collection in Halo 5. And as we work on Infinite, we'll also be engaging more with fans along the way to make sure that we are crafting something that resonates and that we have time to be agile and make sure that we're creating the best experience. Bonnie was also asked by the interviewer, so one of the big topics in the industry this year has been on crunch and unhealthy work conditions across studios. What has 343 done to combat crunch and bad work practices? So this is going to be explaining exactly why Halo Infinite is taking so long and why we might actually have to wait until 2020 until we see Halo Infinite on the next gen console. So Bonnie said, yeah, with Halo 4, just given the nature of being a brand new team that had not worked on a Halo engine before, we did put the team through a really bad crunch. Obviously, we had a ton of feedback that was not a great thing, and one of the reasons is that the Halo engine is a very technical engine, which means it's a lot harder for artists and designers to get content into the game. So we promised the team that for Halo 5, we would do the work. And we did a ton of work to improve the engine along the way during Halo 5. But we promised them that we would do the work to really create tools in the pipeline that was easy to work in so that we could help prevent crunch. And here's the sucky news. We didn't do that for Halo 5. Bonnie Ross said it ended up being a bigger game than we thought it was, and we didn't have time. When we shipped Halo 5, it definitely was a point of, I think, crisis with the team. Crisis might not be the right word, but it was a point where the team was like, you promised us and we're not doing the crunch again. And they were right. So yeah, as suspected, Halo 5 wasn't necessarily a rushed game. I mean, it was, but I mean, it just had a large vision, and they weren't actually, you know, ready to complete that in, you know, in the time window. But they did, and that's what we got, you know, Halo 5. So Bonnie Ross said something interesting. She said there was a crisis with the team. And I think 343 is pretty proud of the Slipspace engine, which, you know, technically we don't even have a teaser. You know, it is a teaser for Halo Infinite, but I mean, it was kind of like a little show-off of the Slipspace engine. In fact, they actually had to do some things with the Slipspace engine for the demo to actually, you know, to work, to show it off, to showcase the Slipspace engine, right? So anyway, you know, of course, it's based off the Blam engine. The Slipspace engine isn't a brand new thing. The Blam engine was there, you know, when Bungie made the Halo games and the previous Halo games and so on, but you know, it's been reworked to fix the designer's needs so that the game fits the workflow. And why they did a little bit of that with Halo 5, basically Halo 5 ended up being a crunch. And Halo 4, I mean, it was just a disaster, apparently. So, yeah, I mean, this is exciting because it implies a lot of things. You know, you're here for speculation, Halo speculation. This is what I'm speculating here, right? Halo Infinite is going to be not necessarily better, but it is going to be much more aligned to 343's timetable, which means there's probably going to be more content, there's going to be more creative vision in it, there's just going to be an easier eye-to-eye, so to speak, with the developers and the artists into the game. Basically, you know, how they, it's like they're going to have a better pencil, basically, to draw this beautiful universe that we can step into in the next year or so. So that's what I'm really excited for. I think that the fact that the engine has been fixed, or at least mostly fixed, it seems, at this point. Well, that's exciting because it means that the game might really be better at this point, you know? And I think that it's not going to be as frustrating as it apparently was with Halo 4 and 5. So that means that things are different this time. And obviously with Halo 4, it makes sense why that game was probably, the lesser game of all. I mean, in my opinion anyway, with 343's games, and it makes sense, right? So I'm just excited to see what this really does to the product, to Halo. Bunny goes on to say, that's why we've taken a bit more time. Usually it's 3 years between every Halo to really do the investment in the engine and the tools in the pipeline, and we're still working on it. But we showed it at E3 last year in 2018, and it is basically trying to create an environment that we can build the game better, faster, and ideally, prevent crunch. I think there will always be, with any game, a crunch. I think there will be times where we need to work longer hours, but I think we need to be really deliberate with that because it's not fair to the team and the team doesn't want to do it. And so we're trying to work out how to create the best environment to hopefully mitigate that. So honestly, I think 343 Industries has a ton of potential. I talked about Bungie working on Halo a while ago, and I said that it's probably not the best idea because Bungie's been out of the loop for almost 10 years, and 343 Industries has been learning, and they're actually probably going to get pretty damn good at this whole Halo game making thing. And by the way, Halo's owned by Microsoft. This studio's owned by Microsoft, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I would put my money in 343. Anyway, I think they have a lot of potential, and I think that they're going to create some really fascinating Halo games in the future. But with that being said, with what we just read there, it seems that they're not fully done with, making the engine, in the perfect workflow that the designers and artists go with. But they say they don't want a time crunch. So that's something that, a lot of insiders, a lot of employees, some leakers, people just say that they don't like working at these companies like EA or Activision or even 343 Industries because they have to work long hours. And, many people at many jobs have to work their long hours, but there's something about working overtime and overtime and overtime and, the pressure because there is like deadline, they have to get this done. And having many people do that, I'm sure it can create a very toxic environment, one that doesn't really honor the spirit of the game, something that when you play it, you can kind of know that they just kind of tried to push something out. It didn't come from the soul, if that makes sense. It wasn't inspired. It was just motivated by deadlines, not getting fired. And so usually, I mean, you guys can tell, I'm sure, as I can tell, it's just crap. We can tell when a game's crap. We can tell when a movie was just made for money. And that's sort of the same thing I feel like happens with a crunch. And that's why Halo 4 and 5 just aren't soul games, and some parts of them are, but I feel like most of the game didn't come from an inspired place, like maybe the original Halo games. Now, those games did also have deadlines, and they were fierce by Microsoft, but I don't know, somehow Bungie made it through that. And not even, I mean, I might get crucified for saying this, and the original Bungie games, if you look close enough, they weren't perfect either. They had their mistakes too, but anyway, in a nutshell, the Slip Space engine is frustrating to use, or at least it was, right? So let's talk about RPG elements. So I'm thinking that Halo Infinite might actually be some kind of twist on Destiny. Some kind of game that is like Halo, but has all those RPG looter shooter kind of functions and game mechanics. Something that will inspire us to explore the world, go on new challenges and quests, and like I've said before, I'm thinking the reason why the game is called Halo Infinite, and I might be hopefully not hyping up the game too much, but if we could actually go around the entire Halo ring, that would be amazing because you could start at one end and then you could drive around and end up where you were before, which would be kind of cool because the title's named Halo Infinite. But regardless, if that's likely or not, I think we'll still be exploring new parts of the ring and going around like an RPG like shooter, something like, just think Destiny, right? Whether you like Destiny or not, I mean, Destiny is a lot of different things, it's gameplay, it's story, it's all those, and there's so many functions that Halo Infinite will not be doing the same in Destiny, so don't worry about if you don't like Destiny, but there's actually a lot of evidence that this is the case, because 343 is looking for a senior systems designer, as we talked about before, to work on the Halo Infinite game, which one of the qualifications for that job post was familiarity with RPG and shooter game mechanics. Frank O'Connor on Twitter a while back also said exploration will be rewarded. So open world element right there, RPG and shooter game mechanics. Seems like a shooter looter maybe game, maybe something like Anthem or Destiny or one of those type games. It was also recently claimed by Brad Sams on Thurrott.com that 343 is trying to make this story adapt to decisions that the player makes, which is interesting because Halo is a very tight-knit story, right? Master Chief doesn't decide to go over there, all right? This is like a point A to point B thing. Games like Mass Effect, for example, I mean, they have decisions and consequences, and the story, you kind of make it up your own, right? There's differences, right? Halo lore isn't like that. So I'm very curious to see how that might play out, and they also said that the game may have more RPG role-playing game elements than prior versions of the game. That's what Brad Sams said on Thurrott. He also said, the executive editor of the news site here, said that he claimed that Microsoft will be shipping the next-gen consoles in 2020 fall and will be talking more about them at E3 2019. The consoles nickname Anaconda and Lockhart. So what do you guys think about all this? Let me know down in the comments below. So the big question is here, could RPG elements work in a Halo game? So obviously that would need to be followed up with other questions. I don't think a no is a sufficient answer, right? You got to ask more questions. Okay, so how are the RPG elements implemented into the game? How do players find and loot and look for things and find things rewarding? What are the RPG elements actually implemented in the game? You know, considering that it's an action RPG, which I'm thinking that's what Halo Infinite may end up becoming, an open action RPG shooter, that might look more like armor abilities, you know, so you can run around with armor abilities and you might be able to choose and upgrade and switch around skill trees and things like that. What are those things? You know, we really don't know if an RPG would work well with this game. You know, we saw it with Zelda, a game that was not an RPG and then it became an RPG, and it actually pulled it off pretty well. But you know, they also spent 7 years on that game, so I don't know. If Halo Infinite releases this year, I think that would be about 4 years of that game in, you know, production. So will it turn out good? It's really hard to tell. But considering the team, and here's me going to be a skeptic now, considering that the team has not worked together on such an endeavor, right? They've worked on Halo 4 and 5, but there's new teams, there's new directors, and, you know, there's just undoubtedly going to be problems and mistakes along the way. Unless 343 gets really freaking lucky and comes up with the right ideas at the right time and implements it and executes it in the right way, you know, it's a whole new ball game. And 343 Industries could easily screw up Halo again. And I feel like that's what a lot of you guys are thinking right now. That's what I'm thinking right now. RPG elements, open world, that sounds scary and new, but could they pull it off? I like being an optimistic person, so I'm hoping yes. I mean, I'm not rooting for Halo to suck or get destroyed, but I am concerned, and I'm curious to see what they do with Halo Infinite, because this is the next mainline Halo game. It's not just it's not like a side Halo game. That'd be a different story. Go crazy with the side Halo game, but this is Halo 6. It's already confirmed. This is Halo 6. So will they screw it up? You let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below, guys, and be sure to subscribe if you want more videos just like this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.